Podcast. I'm your host, Wes Davenport from Motor City Hoops in Detroit Bad Boys.
And I'm Blake Silverman, writer for Detroit Bad Boys, covering everything from the Pistons to the NBA draft and the Motor City Cruise. I just botched my intro. I was going to the old one and I was reading the script and was like, oh, that is not what I was supposed to say, but hopefully it was a little smooth. So sorry for the rough start.
You know, it was your turn to do that, Blake, because I did the same thing a couple of weeks ago where I think I just forgot to pull up the script in the first place. And I got like halfway through it and I was going, oh no, I don't remember the one sentence that I need to do every single week to open up our podcast. So you are totally good.
I was looking at it and my brain just went to like what I'm used to, even though I was looking at the right words. But hey, we've all done it before.
Well, speaking of mistakes, so we actually got a comment on Spotify, which was awesome. But then also it was just about my mic being pretty bad the last week or two. And so I do want to apologize to everyone for that. My wife and I were kind of in between houses at the moment, staying with parents, staying with in-laws, bouncing around until we can actually get in to the new place. So hopefully this episode's gonna be better for me. I've still got the mic, but the StreamYard settings get a little weirded out as I'm like bouncing between different computers. Essentially, is what's happening. So apologies for that, but we appreciated the comment. It was all good other than that. So I responded there on Spotify. That was cool. I think that was the inaugural comment. I just wish that my mic was better, so it could have been only positive. It's my fault though.
Well, it sounds good to me right now, so hopefully it's all good this week. But yeah, when you're on the road and out of your routine and stuff, sometimes it happens. So yeah, it's all good and it sounds loud and clear right now.
Okay, good. Well, let's start with this before we get into questions, because we did get quite a bit of questions submitted ahead of time. And of course, if we have live questions, send those in, put those in the chat here on YouTube or on Facebook. We'll grab those and talk those through as well. And the like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. But finals prediction. We did this at the end of the Pistons Pulse the other day. It got me curious what yours would be. So what is your finals prediction, both the matchup and who wins it?
Oh man. I'm thinking, and I don't know if I'm thinking this just because it's a good storyline, but I'm kind of thinking we might get a Knicks Wolves like cat trade finals. And if that's the case, I would take the Wolves there. I mean, I just think they have a really good team, and obviously they gave the Thunder trouble before. So I think they might be able to get it done, which is crazy because they're the 6th seed, and just on top of Ant and Rudy Gobert, like their role players and stuff are just incredible too. And Julius Randle's had some good games as well over the playoffs. So I'm gonna go Knicks Wolves, although it would be hard. Like Knicks will have a tough time getting past the Pacers. So that'll be a fun series. But if I had to pick right now, Wolves, Knicks, Wolves win it all. What do you have?
So what I want and what I expect is a little bit different. I think OKC is going to get through because they've been so good all year. So I think they're coming out of the West. And then give me the Pacers. Give me the Pacers out of the East, because
Okay.
they've been playing their tails off here in the playoffs. And honestly, little part of me, I do kind of, so I like the Pacers. I enjoy watching the Pacers. I have for quite some time. Got family in that area, so watched a lot of Pacers basketball over the years. It would be a lot of fun to get a Pacers Celtics conference finals rematch. I know it wouldn't be quite the same with Tatum being out, but that would be pretty cool. I would enjoy watching that. Other than that, I mean, obviously good money's on it being Knicks Pacers. I think the Pacers are going to get through that. It would be really fun though to have a Wolves Pacers NBA Finals. I think that would be really cool. So there's my fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the league wouldn't be super thrilled with a Minnesota Indiana finals, but hey, they're the best teams, and it's been a crazy playoff so far, and we're gonna talk about it later. But yeah, the Tatum injury, like sucked. And obviously the Pistons went through it a bit with Isaiah Stewart missing pretty much all of their first round series. So yeah, I don't know. We're recording this on Friday night ahead of Game 6, Knicks Celtics. So are you predicting that the Celtics extend it once more, send it to 7?
I do think it goes to 7. I think the Knicks pull it out. At this point, the
Okay.
Knicks are just a bit more talented of a team, but the Celtics in just about every game so far have at least gotten a solid lead.
Yeah.
Maybe not Game 5. I think every game so far they've gotten out to at least a solid lead, even without Tatum now. So I don't know. I feel like that goes to Game 7, and then that's going to be appointment viewing.
Yeah, a Celtics 20-point lead in this series has pretty much been a Knicks win.
Yep.
For
True.
for
True.
the most part. But yeah, I mean, I don't think the Celtics have enough anymore to get it done. I think the Knicks probably end it in 6 tonight ahead as we're recording. So this can be a huge, like, the game will already be over by the time we have this up. So you can tell if we're wrong or not. But yeah, it just stinks so much what happened to Tatum. But yeah, I was at least happy like Boston pulled out Game 5 to not like go out on a sour note and everything like that. And I mean, great game from like Derek White, and Luke Cornett had an amazing game. So I'm excited to watch it. And just like as a fan, it's fun watching these playoffs now. Although I wish the Pistons were still in it. It's fun watching like without a rooting interest, because I'm just rooting for everything to go to like Game 7 and crazy finishes. But when I was going through it with the Pistons series, it was just like, man, the heart was pumping. So prayers for all the fans that currently have a team still in the playoffs.
I mean, as I kind of said, I do still have a little rooting interest in the Pacers. I was pulling for them. The only thing though was I wish that Cavs series just went a little bit longer, because
Yeah.
I thought that should have been a lot more fun and competitive than it ended up being. Now, I mean, the way that the Pacers beat the brakes off the Cavs there at the end was something to behold. So that was interesting and fun to watch in a different way. But I was hopeful that one was going to go like 6 games, and then but now, yeah, just go Pacers. And here's YouTube user saying he hates the Pacers and Therese Halliburton and hopes only bad things happen in their basketball future. See, the like animosity between Pistons fans and the Pacers, I think, is why we need the Pacers to be really good. We need the Pacers to be making Eastern Conference Finals like they have now the past couple years. We need them in the finals one of these years. We just got to keep brewing that hatred between the two teams and the fan bases. I won't be able to play a part of it because I do really like the Pacers, but everyone else can. Let's just get that old school rivalry going back. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I mean, if you like Pacers, Knicks, Pistons, like the timeline doesn't exactly align, but like when the Pistons were good, getting into like the going to work era, and that's like a little bit after Indiana and New York had their battles with like Reggie Miller doing like the choke thing and everything. So like it would be so cool if like those teams were back at the top of and you can probably do that like if you like, when are the Bulls going to be good again? Like any combination of teams who are getting better, you can probably say that about. But I think it does have an old school vibe with these new, young, and exciting teams that all have their own star. And it's going to be fun for years to come. And I think the Pistons are in a great position for it, honestly. So, yeah, I'm excited for this Knicks Pacers Eastern Conference Finals if that's what we get. I think it's going to go long, and I'm excited that Boston extended the series and Denver OKC is going to 7, because like we're not getting the Eastern Conference Finals starting while the Western Conference semis are still going on. So that'll be good. Just give us some more basketball. You know, it's fun.
All right, Blake, last question for you before we get into the submitted questions. If we get a Pacers Knicks Eastern Conference Finals, what are the odds? All right, give like a percent chance that we see Therese Halliburton do the Reggie Miller choke thing at least once
Oh man,
in the Garden. What's the chances? What are the odds?
I'd say that's pretty high, honestly. I mean, what would that take? Like the Pacers winning, like coming from behind on the road at MSG, but I think that he's if anyone's like aware, he's well aware and he would do that. He doesn't mind being hated, as Pistons fans know all too well. So I'd say the chances of that are pretty high for that. I thought you were going to ask me who's going to win MVP, which I'm glad you didn't ask that.
Oh no, 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 no. We cannot touch that. It's too much of a coin flip on MVP. No, I think with the choke thing with Halliburton, I think that that's actually not even context dependent. I just think he's going to pull it out at if they win like game 3 or
Yeah.
yeah, cuz they were a seed ahead. So if they win game 3, it probably doesn't matter. He just walks off the court doing the Reggie Miller thing. That'd be my bet right now. Almost
Are
100% certainty.
aren't the Knicks 3 and the Pacers 4? So it would be like
Oh
games
yeah,
1 and
no,
2 at
you're right.
MSG.
Yep, you're right.
Um, but yeah, either way, I mean, what the Knicks stole 2 games on the road, like that's been happening this playoff. So I think the chances of us seeing that are pretty high.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. That should be a lot of fun. But speaking of, I mean, so this is kind of a rough transition, but the Pacers, they've got Halliburton, they got Benedict Mathurin, and the counterpart in Detroit, well, that's Cade Cunningham and our guy Jaden Ivey. So let's just start off right away with Jaden Ivey. We got a couple of questions about him. This one is from Shone81. Says any word on how Jaden Ivey is doing, and then we also have a voicemail question about him that we will get to in a second here. So Ivy's rehab, what are we expecting to see with him going into the offseason and then into next year?
I thought that was a pretty good transition, by the way, comparing it to the Ben Math Halliburton thing. So that was good. You got to give yourself some more credit. But I no like actual word on how Ivy's doing. I mean, Wes, if you've talked to Amari, if he's saying anything, but I feel like no more news than we heard when the Pistons were still in. Like I think the update was he was like ramping up basketball activities and things like that. But I feel like you're not going to get a whole lot over the offseason until we inch closer, like draft free agencies behind us. We're inching closer toward training camp. I mean, I am not expecting that he will be out past like the regular season opener, but I guess I don't know for sure. So unfortunately, I feel like it's a wait and see thing right now. And obviously a long time to wait.
Yeah, and like we're not going to get any new information until maybe around draft time when we start getting more media appearances by Langdon Bickerstaff and the leadership in Detroit. But I will say I think that the fact that Ivy was ramping up basketball activity right around the time when the Pistons were performing in the playoffs there against the Knicks, I think that's a really great sign, right? If for nothing else, then he gets to avoid doing the Asar Thompson, right? Last offseason, Asar Thompson just had to rehab, just had to get himself back up into basketball shape. And then, as much as his heart and his cardio system would allow, in order to then come into the regular season and be ready more or less for training camp, but still have, levels to go up before he could even really be effective in game. Like they had to slow play that over time. Ivy gets to avoid all of that. He gets to avoid all of that. He's already ramping up basketball activities. We knew that from the last update we got from the team. So presumably now, another few weeks, he's probably up at 100%. And then he just gets to work on his own skill development and actually put in the time this offseason to still become a better player than what we saw through the first half of this season. And that's really awesome. Like I know that the timing of the injury was awful, right? It was right when he and the team were really starting to hit a groove, right? The vibes were high. He had just recently had that 4-point play game winner. Like everything seemed to be going well. He was figuring things out, and then he goes down. But because that happened midway through the season, he just missed the back half, and now he gets a fresh start going into the offseason and next year. And overall, I think that that's a really good thing for Jaden Ivey.
Yeah, and I mean, thinking about it now, obviously he's extension eligible this summer along with Jalen Duren. So I doubt the window is going to open and you're going to hear about a Jaden Ivey extension right away. But if something happens, if he gets an extension, like I'm sure maybe you'd get an update about the injury alongside it. So again, that's still like a month and a half away. So we have some time there, but yeah, we just saw what happened to Jason Tatum. Like at least this isn't a thing that is going to keep him out over the whole like off season as well as like into next season. The great majority, like I feel like the plan was probably always to have him ready for the next season opener. And just from what I've seen online, I think that's what they're inching towards. So just planning on that until I hear otherwise, I guess.
Real quick, one thing that Jaden Ivey should be working on this summer, like if you could pick one skill set for him to make a step forward in over the summer into next season, what would it be?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. I think maybe just like I saw him take such a step this past year before he went down on just like his creativity around the rim, like finishing. So maybe it's cheating to pick that and say like improve that more, like do that more. But I think that would be huge just for him to take another step there and just really be able to be a force around the rim. And I think he was pretty good at times, like up and down when he played this season. But I think overall, just like he's so athletic and can really like beat anyone that I think if he's able to hone in on that and focus on that some more, then like I mean he'll figure it out as a scorer.
I have this dream of Jaden Ivey being able to take a curl three off the catch and it go in fairly consistently. Obviously, not at the rate that his catch and shoot did this year, and no one would expect him to be Malik Beasley or Tim Hardaway Jr. or anything like that. But if he can be, mid 30s on some of those curl threes, then that opens up a lot of the offense, I think, for him. And actually, this does transition pretty well into the voicemail question that we're going to get. But like, if Jaden Ivey's coming off a curl and you're the defender, you're the two defenders operating in the screen and guarding him off ball, if you know that he could shoot it, he could drive past, he could do an extension dribble and get some space. Like it's just every option's on the table for Jaden Ivey, and it makes it really difficult for you as the defender. So if he could do that, because he's already proven that he's a pretty good standstill catch and shoot guy. But let's get a little bit of movement in there, just enough to keep the defense honest. And I think that would be really great to see.
Yeah, if I had to pick something else, it was going to be like working on the shooting too, which we saw improve this year. So just like improving that a bit, like stuff that we've already seen him take a step there. I think it's just getting to that next level, and it's unfortunate like the injury we didn't get to see it this year, but I think it's definitely possible on the trajectory that he was on.
Yeah, and just like prove it wasn't a fluke, right? He shot over 40%. Prove that that's legit. Keep that up because it's really great. So we just need to see it consistently. Let's stick on Jaden Ivey here for a second. We got a voicemail here from Sean.
Hi, my name is Sean. My question is whether you think the Pistons could use Jaden Ivey sort of like Rip Hamilton was used, coming off of curls and screens and some sort of motion offense in order to make him less ball dominant, take the double teams off Cade, and allow Asar Thompson and Jalen Duren to be setting screens and moving to help with some of the problems that the Pistons experienced this season. I'd love to hear your feedback on that or any other ideas to deal with those issues. Thank you. Bye.
All right, Blake, what do you think? Jaden Ivey on the move?
So I don't know if this was my headphones, but I didn't hear the voicemail, so I'm reading the transcript. So I know
the issues are getting us today.
No, well, either I hope our live listeners heard it, but either way, it'll be edited in, so not a huge worry. But so essentially, Sean's like saying if the Pistons could use Jaden Ivey, sort of like Rip Hamilton and come off curls. I don't know if he'd do as much in the mid range, but like doing like shooting threes off curls, like Wes mentioned, I don't think they're the exact like similar type of player, but I think in this context, really, like I can understand why like making that comparison really. And I think coming into this season, one of the things we talked about with Jaden Ivey is just getting him to move and come off screens and get the ball in motion so he can either make a play or find a good shot. And I think we saw that at times it went up and down a little bit. So I think it's just working on that a little bit more. And like you were just saying, Wes, I think the progression is definitely to become a better scorer on the move. So I think if he's able to do that, like he has such an advantage on so many players in the NBA just because of his speed and his athleticism. And I think this would just give him another advantage. And if he's able to exploit that, like get a defender caught on a screen plus his first step, then like that's going to create some easy looks, if not for Ivy, for someone else, because that gets the defense scrambling and everything like that. So I think it's a natural progression for Ivy's game. I mean, I'm sure it's a lot easier said than done, but I'm sure it will be a focus over the off season, obviously, as he's rehabbing and ramping up with basketball activities and everything. But I think it's something we honestly should expect with Ivy.
I am right there with Sean on this one. And actually, I've been saying something along these lines since Ivy's rookie year. He is so fast. The amount of space that you could create by having him kind of start underneath the rim, sprint out on a little bit of a pin down, right? Or just a curl right off onto the wing. The amount of space that you could get Jaden Ivey by just asking him to sprint as fast as he can and go off the screen before ever getting the ball, I think could be so disruptive for a defense, even more so than just he gets the ball up at the top of the key or out on the wing, rip and go, and he blows by somebody, right? Like there is something, the space between Jaden Ivey and his defender would be so great that it would be difficult for it not to be just absolutely disturbing for the other four other defenders out on the court, where you would shift and warp their little defensive shell so much so that I think Cade Cunningham has more space. Asar Thompson can start to cut. Like you could have Duran's probably setting the screen, but maybe he's rolling off the curl now, right? Like it would be just shocking, I think, that the amount of actual literal space that Jaden Ivey could create in that way. Not to mention the fact that it makes his life just a little bit easier because he's catching the ball already with an advantage and now being asked to get downhill instead of being given the ball and being asked to go create an advantage, which is something he can do. And he did that very well early last season, but, make his life a little bit easier as well. Nothing wrong with that. So I would love to see this. They haven't done it too much yet. They've done it a little bit, but just having even an Iverson cut, man, just like straight across that free throw line, he was leaving his defender in the dust, and you've got to shift four other guys to go account for it because there would be just that much openness for Jaden Ivey. He's obviously not going to shoot every single three that he gets off of this. In fact, I wouldn't want him to, but I think just as an easy way to leverage a guy's physical tools and help to make him an even better fit next to Cade Cunningham in that backcourt, I would absolutely love to see more Jaden Ivey on the move. Like treat him like Rip Hamilton, but instead of those mid-range jump shots that Rip would take, Jaden Ivey just drives to the rim every time. Right to the rim every time. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, it would definitely be great. I mean, I think YouTube user has a good point here. Like Ivy has a set shot and it might be difficult for him to become a good movement shooter. Like, do you think
the best shooter in NBA history shoots a set shot, and he is fantastic off movement?
Steph Curry.
Yeah, Steph Curry. There are plenty of movement shooters that can actually shoot just fine off movement. It's really all about your footwork. So shooting off the move is how quickly you can get down into your ready point, right? So if you can snap your feet, Malik Beasley is incredible at this, by the way. He's not a great movement shooter because he jumps really high. Although honestly, I would love Jaden Ivey to jump a little bit more on his jump shot. That's something that Bryce and I have talked about for a couple of years now too. Regardless, Asar Thompson too. I wish he would really get more elevation. But that's not what makes Malik Beasley a really good movement shooter. What makes him so good is his 1-2 step is unbelievably fast. It is a blur, and he is able to set it exactly at shoulder width, exactly how he likes it, exactly how he's comfortable as a shooter, 10 times out of 10 in just about any directional situation, while also flipping his hips. Because as a righty, it's a little bit easier going off to your left off of a curl. Your right hip, your right shoulder's already over and pointing to the rim. But if you're going to your right, now you got to swing your hips and your shoulders around so you're square. And Malik Beasley's incredible at that too. That was one of the most, like as a shooter, that was one of the most impressive things that Malik Beasley did in my book all season, was just how incredible his footwork and his ability to swing his hips and his shoulders were on these movement and curl threes. So long story short, it's just footwork. If Ivy can improve the footwork, which is something I think would be helpful for him anyway, with what you mentioned, being able to finish around the rim. Sometimes his footwork is a little slower than he wants to move. So if he can improve that, it'll help in both spaces. And I think he'll be just fine. I mean, he's not going to be Malik Beasley, but you're just asking for like 35% on a curl.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously he's not going to become what Beasley is, like you said, but it's someone good to learn from too, if you're not going to reach that height, obviously, because few players ever do. But when you're looking to improve something, having those guys in the locker room definitely helps.
And this is just on the elevation with the jump shot. It's a little confusing to me with Ivy and Asar. Both of them are good examples of this. Both guys shoot a set shot, but both guys, if they take a dribble jumper at the elbow, they elevate a ton. So it's almost like some coach, when they were younger, told them that you're supposed to shoot and not jump all that much when you shoot. And I don't like I cannot explain it any way other than that, because it seems to me that they naturally want to lift way off the ground. Like that is their instinct, is to jump. Jaden Ivey's 4-point game winner, he was up there when he released that ball, right? Asar Thompson, when he does that little 2-dribble back down fadeaway thing, he is like head at the rim when he releases the ball. He's up so high. But then you put these guys on a catch and shoot at the 3-point line and, feet barely leave the ground. It's fine. Like you can shoot that way. You could shoot with a lot of elevation. I always like to shoot with a little bit more elevation myself. As a smaller guy, helps you get the ball up over the top of a bigger defender. But yeah, it's just weird that those two guys have the disconnect between their like off the dribble and then what they do off the catch. It's just weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that is interesting, because I think some of like with Asar, some of the shots that I most remember from his brief career is like those ones near the hoop where he just jumps absurdly high and it goes in somehow. So I guess I never really even like noticed that or thought about it too much, when how different it is when they do get a catch and shoot opportunity or something like that.
Asar probably has the most potential to just like ditch the set shot now and just start doing that, because like it can't get worse, right? His 3-point shot can't get worse. So if it were me, I'd be telling them, dude, just shoot like you do when you're 5 feet away from the hoop, and let's see what happens. Let's just roll with that. But yeah, whatever. It can work. It can all work. Let's go to another young guy out of that same draft class. All right. We got a question here from Tony Buckets. Says his question: Jalen Duren with a reliable mid-range shot. Is it possible? And if so, what impact might that have on the team? So sticking with shooting now, just with Jalen Duren.
I mean, like, is it possible? Yeah, but my question is, like, do you want your center taking a bunch of mid-range jumpers who like isn't like Cade is unreal in the mid-range, but I think you don't even want him taking a bunch of mid-range jumpers. So, I mean, I think if Duren finds something and he becomes this like knockdown shooter in the mid-range, like, get some guys away from the hoop and maybe like opens other things up, but I think that would be the main benefit of it. And I don't know if you want to necessarily like look to that shot a lot of times, but to get that like defensive attention, you have to take that shot and make other teams worried about it. So I don't know. I just feel like it's just not how the NBA, like how the Pistons want to operate their offense. I feel like Duran's mainly going to score near the rim, which I think is what you want if your center doesn't have the ability to step out to the perimeter and knock down some threes. Because I just think it's a low percentage shot and not one that JB Bickerstaff would want to focus on, honestly. But obviously, like if he can do it, it would certainly help.
Yeah, like I get the idea, right? Like if Jalen Duren could hit a 15-footer reliably, then that pulls the center away from the hoop a little bit, and that would be helpful. To some extent, wouldn't be perfect, but it would be helpful to some extent. I think that the best outcome here for Jalen Duren as a shooter, because I get that he's so young. He's never shot above 80% from the free throw line in his career. So his rookie year was 61, last year 79, this year 67. Okay, so there's not a lot to go on here that would suggest he's going to eventually go on and shoot threes. You bake that in with the fact that his form looks a little wonky and his feet are weird. Regardless, let's leave all that aside. I think the best possible outcome for Jalen Duren with any sort of jump shot would be if he could hit that free throw line jumper out of the short roll. That would be helpful. That would be great. I really think that would be great. Like, so remember how the Knicks played the Pistons pick and roll, right? They blitzed Cade Cunningham, and so they started having Jalen Duren slip it a little bit, get it to him in the short roll, and ask him to make a play. Little, feast or famine there. Sometimes he hit a Thompson on a really nice cut. Other times it was a turnover or just really didn't lead to anything, even though they did have an advantage. So that was the Knicks' strategy. But in that situation, if Jalen Duren could catch the ball right around that elbow or free throw line and turn, face the hoop, have a essentially 4-on-3 looking forwards, and if no one's open, he's the only one there, then pop the elbow jumper, like one dribble into a little floater, right? That would be great. I don't think that helps spacing all that much, for example, right? If your range is basically that free throw line or free throw line extended, and that's about it as a shooter, well, imagine Rudy Gobert, like he can cover that distance without worrying or having to leave the hoop all that much. Or if he's out for a contest, he can turn around and block a shot from a cutter as well. So I don't think the spacing issue is really fixed with this one, but just in terms of the tools in his toolkit, if you could get him in the short roll and he can reliably choose to either pass to an open man and you could trust him to do that, take one dribble closer and hit a little floater, which we've seen him have the ability to do, or just stand there and pop that elbow jumper like Isaiah Stewart does every now and then, that would be really good for him developmentally, I think. So that would be my goal for him if he was thinking about shooting a little bit. It'd be that specific shot.
Yeah, and honestly, I think like the little floater from inside the key that you mentioned, like I think I'd be a little more interested in that just because it gives him, like you mentioned, another like tool around the hoop to score. We know what he can do like at the rim. So if he can just get that from like 5-6 feet away, whatever it is, like Isaiah Hartenstein does that so well, and he just got $100 million last offseason. Like he doesn't shoot. So things like that. But Mimsy brings it up once Duren to consistently defend before he brings in a shot. Like when you're talking about Hartenstein, like that's a much better defender. So that's why there. But I think if we're thinking about it just offensively too, I think that floater would be nice too. Like obviously want him to be able to make and knock down shots from wherever, but just thinking realistically, like I don't know if it would ever be a priority for the offense to have Duren out in the mid-range, like unless, like you mentioned, Wes, it's a decision that he could make when he gets the ball in the short roll.
All right, let's go to one that we missed from last week. So this is from Dave, 10.9 miles north of LCA, and well, this was unavoidable. Okay, so he says, should we be worried or not worried about outlets like Bleacher Report mock trading Zion Williamson to the Detroit Pistons?
Uh, I have not thought about this since the article came out, so apologies, Dave, for that we're getting to this a little late, but I think we all had some time to digest and see what we think. I mean, Zion to the Pistons has been something that has been chatted about in this community for a long time. I think I just don't know if that's a swing that the Pistons are going to take. I think if there was a Pelicans trade, the Pistons might be more focused on Trey Murphy or Herb Jones, but who knows if New Orleans would give them up, what have you. I just think, well, first of all, what we saw, Trajan Langdon, he comes from New Orleans, so no one's going to know him. No one's going to know Zion better than Trajan. So if the Pistons make a deal for Zion, it's because Trajan really believes in him, which would be interesting because of how little he played. And we saw last offseason, Trajan's first offseason in Detroit, the guys he brought in, he really prioritized players who were available. That was a huge problem that the Pistons had in their 14-win season with everyone sitting out, getting shut down. And I just think Trajan's not going to be interested in bringing in a guy unless he's fully confident he's going to play 60 to 70 games a year. And we haven't seen that with Zion his entire career. Honestly, I think if there was a Zion trade, it would be a little bit of okay, Cade is really good. We need to get him number 2 and make our leap to the conference finals or NBA finals ASAP, which I don't really think this front office or even ownership is in that mindset. So I'm not worried about it personally. Anything can happen, honestly, but I just don't see it as a realistic outcome, I think.
Yeah, here's where I'm at just on the Zion thing in general. The upside is undeniably really high. Okay, Zion, when he is healthy, is a very, very good basketball
He's
player.
dominant.
He's absolutely dominant. He's good enough. Honestly, he is good enough as a basketball player when he is healthy to push Cade Cunningham for that number 1 scoring option role. That is undeniably the type of player that Zion Williamson is. The trouble is obviously the injuries there too. So I think when you consider the upside, and when you consider on top of it that he would actually fit pretty well with Cade, you've got a lob threat pick and roll guy. He can do a lot of the short. There's a lot of synergy there. It all comes down to price. Okay, so I would say nobody should be worried that the Pistons are going to send out multiple assets in a trade for Zion Williamson. I'm 100% with you. I think that just doesn't align with what we have seen out of this front office over the past year since Langdon's taken control. If you're saying that Zion Williamson becomes almost a salary dump or only costs essentially a few, a couple, salary matching essentially, and maybe one young player, now maybe we think about it. Okay, so I think that to me, you need the cost to get low enough where the upside is too good to pass up. And if we're talking about multiple assets, then that's not what that is. It doesn't seem to make sense. So I guess be excited is what I'm saying. If Zion Williamson's in a Detroit jersey, it's because they got him for peanuts, and no one's going to be upset about it.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think it's we have a Blake Griffin trade incoming, and I mean, I'm interested to see what's going to happen with
Blake played more games.
Yeah. Yeah, cuz you're right. When Zion is healthy, he is basically not unstoppable, but he's super dominant, and those guys don't come around a lot, but the key is when he's healthy, and that's been like very rare throughout his career. So I don't think the Pistons are really intrigued by that, I guess. I think they might try to build things a bit more, what's the right word? Like, I guess naturally around Cade. Like if that's the star swing that you can take, like I could see them holding off on that one and trying to use their assets and their space for something else.
All right, let me ask you though. Like, this is going to be a ridiculously cheap price. Okay, so just bake that into your head. If Joe Dumars calls up Blake Silverman and says, "Hey, we want to sign and trade Tim Hardaway Jr. and a couple of second-round picks for Zion," are you saying no because of the injury history? I mean, obviously this wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen.
No,
but
I'd do that.
Theoretically, it could.
Yeah, I'd do it. I mean, he's around, his contract is like $40 million next season, goes up $2 million for 2 seasons after. I think the Pistons can make that work. Obviously, Cade's extension kicks in. Like, if you make that trade, you probably have to find another trade for one of your other young guys who is going to get an extension. But I think the upside would be worth it for that one. If it's basically nothing.
That's my only point. That's my only point. Like, if you keep pushing this cost down far enough, then it becomes just, well, it's worth a shot. Even if it probably won't work, it's worth the shot. Now, it's not going to happen. So I am not in favor of trading assets for Zion Williamson. But
everyone was
I don't know.
Yeah, I could see. I mean, New Orleans would have to be desperate, which, like, I mean,
they might be.
Yeah, I didn't realize like after the draft lottery Monday, which was craziness that we won't dive into. Like, everyone was feeling bad for Utah and Washington for falling, but New Orleans fell from like top. I think they were 4, so they didn't have top odds, but after that, and they were like 4th worst record, they're picking 7th. Like, that's brutal after the season they had.
Yep, absolutely, brutal. So they might be desperate. They're not Tim Hardaway Jr. for $40 million desperate, but they might be desperate. Let's go. This is funny. Coffee Dark. This is definitely an evil version of coffee. Yeah, right here. Beasley averaged 68% from the free throw line. Jalen Duren averaged 67%. Can Duren be a future 40% 3-point shooter? What do you think, Blake?
Yes. No, I'm just kidding.
Calling his shot now. I love it.
No, that's a good point. I mean, I don't know. We saw what Malik did this year. Franchise.
Is it a good point, Blake? Is it a good?
It's a good like caveat to bring to a discussion. It's good to say, like, I mean, with young players, you look at their free throw percentage developing into 3-point shooting. I think Duren's a little bit like of an outlier with that. Like, you can't expect a big man like him to just develop a 3-point shot out of nowhere. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Malik just like do better at the line. He was okay. He just averaged like 1.7 attempts a game and 1.2 makes. So it's like a little smaller, but it's a good caveat to the conversation.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's more interesting in the reverse, right? Like, how Malik Beasley, are you this good from so much further away, but then no contest right there at the free throw line, 68%. Really? You know who else actually was kind of – Rasheed Wallace was a little bit of this too, because he was a good 3-point shooter, struggled at the free throw line. So there you go. Maybe there's your hope, everybody, for Jalen Duren. Just become Rasheed Wallace, and then it's fine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm looking at the stats now. Shout out to Malik Beasley for making the 82 games club. That's impressive on like a 1-year deal, doing what he did. Ron Holland should have made it if he didn't get suspended for that one game, but
BS suspension.
Yeah.
I'm still upset about it. Let's stick with the power forward position here because, we just talked about Rashid, not Jalen Turner. Do not ever play Jalen Turner at the power forward position. Moving on. I saw a glimpse of that 2 years ago in Summer League, and I'm still scarred. Let's talk about lots of talk about getting a long-term power forward to replace Tobias Harris. Am I crazy to wonder if Asar Thompson is the possible solution at power forward? This is from Lil Ben, the alternative to Big Ben.
I love that. I feel like I go to this every time we get this question. So sorry if I sound like a broken record, but I think it just depends on who are the other players on the floor. Like, we think Duren is going to be here for the long term unless a trade comes up or something like that. We saw over this past season, Asar and Duren can play next to each other, but I think it is important when you just think of the other players on the court. Like, Cade's going to be out there and providing that spacing for Cade. And when you're going to have concerns of this, like Asar Duren pairing out there, having Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway, Tobias helped alleviate that this year. So I think it really depends on the future of those guys. Like, what are you bringing Malik Beasley back? Maybe Tim Hardaway doesn't come back. Who's your replacement there? Because I think after Cade right now, Asar should probably be prioritized the most in the long term of this young group, just because of the type of player he is, and he's kind of like an anomaly out there. But what does that mean for the rest of the group? I think the roster sort of needs to be catered a little bit towards that, but I think the front office will make a conscious keep that in mind with the other moves that they are making.
Yeah, I genuinely do believe that this is the long-term plan for Asar Thompson. I think the catch is just that they need to figure out a way to make sure that he can still be a Swiss Army knife on defense. So as long as Asar Thompson gets to guard 1 through 4, I am totally okay with wherever they choose to play him offensively. And I'll add too that I know I've said this before, so speaking of sounding like broken records, but Asar Thompson is a 4 offensively. That is how he plays. If you watch, you can watch film of this too. His instinct on just a loose ball is to cut to the elbow. He plays like a big. He wants to be in the dunker spot. That's where he wants to go. He doesn't like being up at the top of the key and having to, operate from there. He would much rather be in the key, right? Operating in the paint or nearby. So let him do it. Let him do it. The trick is just that means that you need a 5 who can space a little bit. And ideally, if you really want to go all the way with this, you need a 3. Excuse me, sorry. You need a 3 who's also capable of at least every now and then bodying up some of the bigger 4s that are in the NBA. Honestly, I think Ron Holland has a shot of being able to do that. I am less comfortable with Ron Holland guarding down than up. I don't know if I'd really want Ron checking too many point guards, but I feel like Ron Holland next year could probably match up to Pascal Siakam fairly well, for example, right? And if you can get that out of him, then that lets Asar Thompson go and check Halliburton, which would be great. So I think if you're going to go this route, and it looks to me like the Pistons kind of are interested at least in going this route, then Ron Holland being flexible enough to allow Asar to be a Swiss Army knife on defense, and then finding a 5 who doesn't also want to cut to the elbow at a loose ball or be in the dunker spot himself. Those would be the 2 big keys to making it work. But I do think Asar Thompson at the 4, probably the best thing for him.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I honestly, I wonder how close we are to that. I mean, Tobias is under contract for next year unless there's a trade or anything like that. He's going to be here. He was good. He did great in his role, but I mean, now he is an expiring deal, and if the Pistons want to make a trade for anyone who makes a considerable amount of money, he's probably going to be included in that. So if that happens like that, depending on who you get, obviously, and who you bring in over the offseason, like that could put Asar in this position fairly quickly. And even if it's not next season, like then Tobias's deal is up, and does he come back? What does that look like? So I think it might be like sooner rather than later. But yeah, I mean, I think it makes the most sense long term because it sort of opens up like what you can do with your like 2 and 3. And especially if like you believe in Ron Holland, you believe in like Jaden Ivey to take the like really they have to develop and be able to alleviate those spacing concerns for like that to work out.
Yeah, that's my dream for this upcoming season. Like, I want this offseason for them to give Jaden Ivey the chance to take over that number 2 role like he had started to do. I don't know if he'll necessarily be good enough to be like a 22, 23 a night guy, but give him a shot to be that. Disprove it. Don't just assume it's not going to happen. And then if that happens, right? If Jaden Ivey is a good enough scorer to make Tobias truly that third option, then give Ron Holland the chance to take over the starting spot and shift Asar up to the 4. Like I'm not betting on that. He's got a ways to go, but it's not as far as I think some people think for Ron Holland. So just give him a shot and then let him push Tobias Harris to the bench. That's my pie in the sky dream for next year. You'd have a 1 through 4 of Cade, Ivy, Ron, and Asar, and 3 of those guys like truly earned it. Obviously, Cade has already earned it, so I don't mean anything in that way. But like Asar earned moving up to the 4, proved that he's vital, right? So you can't bench him. Ron Holland pushed out Tobias Harris, and Jaden Ivey's averaging 20 a night or something like that, and that's just exciting. That's my dream.
Yeah, and I can like if that happens, I could totally like if Tobias is still on the team, like I could see him embracing a bench role. Like he's getting
Absolutely
up there in his career. So like I think that would still be a positive, and you have a guy like him in the locker room, and then one that you can look to knock down shots when you need him to. I mean, hopefully there's no huge decline or whatever, but yeah, even if he's not included in a trade, like, and he sticks around and that's more of the path, like maybe that's how it goes. He shifts to a bench role. And when his deal's up, he signs like a vet min or something a little bit more, and that's how it goes.
I just with Ron and Asar, if both of them can develop how ideally they can, like show me a better forward pairing to throw against Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Just find me one. It'd be great. So I let me be a dreamer for a little bit. All right, this is another one from last week, and then we'll close out with 2 more from this week. This is from Dylan 22. Says, what is the most you'd give up to acquire Jabari Smith Jr.?
Okay, so here's Jabari Smith Jr.'s last season, regular season. Averaged 12.2 points a game, 7 rebounds, 1.1 assists, shot 35.4% from 3 on just under 5 attempts a game. I mean, I feel like you have to give up something real, unfortunately. Like I don't know if the Rockets would necessarily just dump him unless they were making a big move and like for Giannis or whatever happens or KD, and they need another team to jump in there and facilitate something. Even if that's the case, I think your prize for facilitating something would be a 2nd round pick or 2, as opposed to a player like Jabari Smith Jr. But what's interesting is like the Rockets have almost too many guys, and I can see that they're probably going to have to consolidate a bit, especially like maybe that's what they do if they make a big move this offseason. But I don't know if I'm giving up like any of the young pieces for Jabari Smith, honestly. And like, I'd love to have him on this team and like take a shot there, but like I don't think I'm giving up Ron or Ivy. And I don't think the Rockets would necessarily even want Ivy. So that brings you almost to like Duran, maybe, but like also I don't know about that one either. So if they'd take like a couple expiring contracts or whatever the money situation is, and then like a good second round pick in the Pistons treasure chests or two, like I think it'll take more than that. But like I don't know if I'd give up a first round pick for him, honestly.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like Jabari Smith Jr. he's a good player. He's a good shooter. He's a pretty good defender. Solid 3-and-D forward. Okay, and he's got good size to him as well, good length. But he's just not the type of player that I would be wanting to sell the farm for, so to speak. Right? Like that's not the type of swing, I guess, that I'd really be all that interested in the Pistons taking. Because I'm with you. Like, if you're out on Ron Holland, then Jabari Smith Jr. is a great fit at the 4 next to Asar. But why are we giving up on Ron this early? He doesn't really have much versatility out to the 5, so there's not too much positional leeway there that he can give you, and his jumper's honestly pretty streaky as well. Like you said, it's 35%. That's a far cry from what he was at. He was Auburn, wasn't he? Yeah. So far cry from what he was in college. Like I still think he's a good player. He's going to be in the league for a long time. He's not obviously, but it's not looking like he's on the path to really becoming like a superstar or anything like the couple of guys that were picked ahead of him were at this point. Like you said, if it's really cheap, then sure, he'd be great, and I'd love to add him to the team without giving up anything. But that's just not a reality. So again, I fall back on like if they want Tim Hardaway Jr., like sure, we'll do that sign and trade, and we'll take Jabari Smith Jr. back. But in terms of real assets or even realistic package that you'd have to give up in order to have a shot at acquiring a young player like him, I'm with you. I'm just out.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, what makes it interesting is like I think a change of scenery would do Jabari Smith like a lot of good, and it's just the Rockets have so much talent, like it's no fault of his own. But with like this step the Pistons took, just the players that they have, and like it comes to me like the real thing that you could give for a player like that is picks, unless the Rockets, like this is a deadline deal. The Pistons have a veteran who the Rockets think would really help them down the stretch and in the playoffs. And it's like, would the Pistons want to give up that guy for a more like future looking move? I don't know. So I think it's more suited, like if he's going to get a change of scenery, it's going to be a team that's not really like a Chicago or Atlanta or something, Sacramento, like a team that just wants to take a shot. But I think like the Pistons just wouldn't really want to, like they'd take the shot, but they wouldn't want to give up what it costed to do so potentially.
And I'm glad you brought up the trade deadline too, because that was honestly my first thought was like, okay, if the Rockets consolidate a bunch of their young players into a star like Giannis, right? They make a big move, and they plan on Jabari Smith being elevated into a larger role next to Giannis, right? For whatever reason, JSJ wasn't the young player that they included in that trade to make the move to get a superstar. And then if he doesn't perform all that well next year, now I think at the trade deadline that cost is probably low enough where I'm interested. But at that point, it's a rehab trade, right? It's almost like the James Wiseman trade where you're taking a swing on a guy that looks like he kind of flamed out, and maybe you could get him into this system in a change of scenery and kind of rehab that career a little bit and really profit off the back end of it. But that's not where Jabari Smith Jr. is right now. He's a solid player for the Rockets. He's not as good as Rockets fans wanted him to be, but he's not like teetering on does he get a second contract. No, he's solid. He's proven he's a good player. If that changes, now I'm interested, and I think that the only way that we're seeing that change is at the deadline.
Yeah, and he's Ivy's draft, right? So like he's gonna be up for an extension this summer. So something might happen there. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
All right, this is from our guy Tony Bucket. Says bonus question: are you devastated that nobody dropped 50 this year, or are you merely saddened?
I wouldn't say devastated because it definitely doesn't keep me up at night, but so maybe that means I'm merely saddened. I mean, we remember the Malachi Flynn game and how fun that was and an atrocious season. Yeah, am I sad that no one popped off for 50? Sure, I'd really like Cade to do that at one point, and I think he will. So I think that's what we're looking for. But yeah, I guess like a little bit of a bummer, not a huge one though, because that's hard, man. Like that Malachi Flynn game was crazy.
That was the one real bright spot of that entire season was the
Yes.
Malachi Flynn game. I remember the excitement we had recording immediately after that one.
Yeah, that was a good day we chose.
that was hilarious. But yeah, so I don't know, where does significant bummer fall on the scale of devastated to merely sad? Because that's where I'm at. I'm with you too. I thought Cade actually a couple of games was on pace and could have had it, and just didn't turn out. That one Hawks game in particular, I thought that was a shoe-in at halftime, and then they completely changed the way they were guarding him.
Yeah.
Good on the Hawks. They should have. It wasn't working. The Pistons would go on and win anyway, and Cade's not selfish, so he didn't force the issue the rest of that way. But yeah, I mean, it'll be great when Cade does put up a 50 burger, but until then, I'm just a bit bummed as well. So I suppose merely saddened would be the way to put it. Last one here. How important are injuries in the context of making a playoff run versus building a just championship roster on paper? This is from Rames in the DBB comments.
Yeah, and Rames sorry we didn't have the whole question, just character limits, but he brought up like Dame, Tatum, Curry being out is like I think it's huge in this league. Like we see it every year. And like we just saw it with Tatum. The Celtics, as we're recording, are facing another elimination game in a couple hours. We saw what the Steph Curry injury did to Golden State. The Wolves took care of them pretty quickly. Like I saw Steph was potentially going to be able to come back for game 6, but the series didn't even make it that far. So it's huge. And the Cavs too, like they were injured and beaten up and everything, and their players came back, but it was a little bit too late. The Pacers stole those games. So I think it's huge, honestly. And like, I'm not going to put anything into the universe, but like the Celtics were so deflated after that Tatum injury happened, and that was a close game, and they lost that game, and there was this huge dark cloud over them. They come out and win the next game, which is great, but I don't think they have a real chance in this series. And I think there is an element of it to like the healthiest team at the end of the day might end up winning the title, which it shouldn't really be that way. And I don't know if the league would ever consider shortening the season or what they would do. I'm sure the owners don't want to because they lose money when you have less games. But yeah, until then, like it's huge. We see it every year. The Pistons even dealt with it to a degree with Isaiah Stewart. So yeah, it's an unfortunate reality, and I think it matters a lot. Like obviously building a talented roster, you have to do that before you're in these situations, but then like staying healthy is critical.
What's the phrase? The best ability is availability,
Yes,
right? Yeah, I mean that's true in every sport. It's true baseball, football. That's what I really liked, honestly, about last offseason. Even as it was happening, the guys that Langdon brings in, you brought this up already. Harris, plays 70 or more games most of the years. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been rock solid injury-wise. Malik Beasley plays outside of, I think, his second year where he had an injury that really took away most of his season. Like, he's been consistently up there over 60 or 70 games. Like, it's important. It was important last offseason because you wanted veterans that were actually going to play, right? You wanted the stability of guys that would be veteran leaders in the locker room and then also veteran leaders out on the court night after night, and you wouldn't have to worry too much about them being hurt and missing a bunch of time. No slight to Bojan or Alec Burks, but that was kind of the situation with those two the years prior. So that's what made it so great last offseason. And then now as we're looking forwards, I think you're spot on. Like, oftentimes the healthier team is going to come out on top in these playoffs, especially with how long the playoffs are, right? You got to get 16 wins in total in order to take home the trophy at the end. So there's absolutely an element of durability here. So yeah, I mean, a championship roster on paper is pretty great, but if none of those guys are super durable, then it's a big risk. Now, and we've also seen like Tatum rupturing his Achilles. There's not much you could do about that. He's been a durable player for years now, and that's just bad luck. Jaden Ivey breaking his leg, that's just bad luck. So stuff like that happens, and sometimes you get the short straw there. But the nagging stuff, right? That's seems like more or less the stuff that guys can avoid or not avoid more often than not. So guys like Tobias Harris are really successful with it, and unfortunately, Bojan has not been in recent years, for example. The one thing I'll say though, and I think we'll probably want to come back to this later on in the offseason or something, but the NBA has just this awful tendency as a management body to think that the solution to their problems is less basketball. And I, as a fan, absolutely hate it because I want more basketball. So, like, do not, under any circumstances, shorten the season. Baseball plays 160 whatever games. No one's complaining, outside of non-baseball fans like me. No one's complaining really that season's way too long. Like, no one's complaining that the NFL season's way too long, and those guys are getting hurt almost every single week, sometimes even in the preseason, right? And I think the Lions now have 4 preseason games instead of the usual 3. Like, give me more basketball, not less. I don't care if you have to spread it out more, if you give guys more rest in between games, things like that. But, like, more is the answer. It's the same with the All-Star game. Don't make the All-Star game shorter. Give me more of a basketball game. Just more basketball. There's my soapbox.
Isn't the second round like a little bit closer together than the first? And so maybe that's the answer too. Because I was thinking like, what is the answer? If it's like, is it advances in like strength and conditioning? Like, I don't know anything about that.
Honestly,
world, so
I just don't even think it's a problem to solve. Like, guys get hurt. Yeah. They're gonna get hurt. This is sports. It happens. It's a contact game. You just shift the focus from looking at it like it was something that the NBA needs to fix and start looking at it as, damn, that was really bad luck. Like when Hutchinson goes down last year for the Detroit Lions, who's angry at Roger Goodell for scheduling too many games early on in the season? Like, nobody. It's just, wow, what terrible luck for the Detroit Lions, right? So Tatum goes down, horrible luck. Feel terrible for those Celtics fans. Same with Dame. But, like, there's nothing to fix. This is sports. It happens.
Okay. I can get behind that.
That's just me.
No, I can get behind that. It just sucks when like you don't have star players in the playoffs. Like it sucks so much that like Curry wasn't in this series really. So
yeah,
that's like the only
especially
thing.
because he's running low on time now.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, the Lakers couldn't get it done in the first round, so we could see a LeBron versus Curry series. So it can happen.
That's on the Lakers.
Yeah, it can happen a bunch of different ways. So yeah, it might just be life, I guess.
Man, how about, okay, we can close on this because I found it funny. The Lakers and Mavericks. The trade deadline happens. Everyone's just dissing the Mavs for how terrible a move that was, us included. I still don't understand it. The Lakers, though, they fall head first into just another generational player, only to get knocked out in the first round, kind of unceremoniously. I mean, they just got dispatched. It wasn't all that competitive. And then the Mavs go and get the number one pick.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, what
what?
a change.
Who
I
would have
mean,
predicted this in February?
I'll still give the Lakers some time because like they're clearly going to change their roster. Like they tried to do that Mark Williams deal,
Yeah,
which
they have to.
they might have made fall apart. But man, like if you need, I don't think the lottery isn't rigged. Like I'm not making that up, but like if the Dallas Mavericks just got the most insane luck ever. So like I think them winning the lottery is almost more like of a proof point of the lottery because like it's just insane luck. Like that's what the whole thing is and that's what they saw. Who would have thought that was coming? Who said the Dallas Mavericks were going to win the lottery other than making a joke? So yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with like Nico Harrison and everything. Like, I mean, he's probably good now, but man, what a crazy,
Unless
what
they
a
trade
crazy
that
lottery.
pick.
Oh, they
Then
will.
he's
Yeah,
not good. But
yeah.
I mean, just take Cooper Flag fits really well with Kyrie and AD. Like that was
Defense wins
incredible.
championships. That's
Yeah,
his whole thing.
absolutely.
And Cooper is a good defender, but maybe a
Yeah.
great defender. So
Yeah, exactly. And the lottery conspiracy stuff, it cracks me up all the time. It cracks me up because one, like you're telling Ernst and Young they're committing fraud first of all, so that's hilarious. Like as a byproduct of all this, the accounting group that does the audit of the draft lottery is just accused of committing literal legal fraud on Twitter all the time by people who buy into the theories. And then of course, like, okay, so I'm Adam Silver, and I'm telling Dallas, you got to trade Luka to the Lakers. I want Luka in the big, in the big show down there, the big market in LA, because Dallas is a small market, and I'm gonna make sure that you guys win the lottery. And also, I just know that Kyrie's gonna tear his ACL. like, like, like that's the only reason they were in there. They were playing well until that happened. It's just all so funny.
I mean,
It's
they
so
were a
funny.
game away from not being in the lottery, and like, I
Yeah,
mean, I know it, like there's a video of the drawing. There are journalists that are in there. Like, don't
yeah.
my reason for it not being rigged is like if you are a journalist that is involved with this, like one,
You're breaking that story, aren't you?
it's
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
come
it's
on.
like it's almost your like civic duty to like seek the truth and report it. And any journalist who's in there seeing the process, like that would be the biggest story of their career, most likely. Like, so it would have been done.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny every year. This year it's just especially funny because Dallas is such a small market team. We just needed to intervene as the league to get Luca out in LA. Like, oh,
Yeah.
sure, yeah, okay. We can put our tinfoil hats down, and I think
They
we're
did
okay here.
they did win the WNBA draft lottery and the NBA draft lottery in the matter of months
There you
though.
go.
So maybe there's something up there. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, Coffee Dark. It happened with the Lakers and New Orleans Pelicans too. I forgot about that. Yeah, Lakers get AD in the next draft. The Pelicans get Zion because that worked out
LeBron
really
leaves
well.
Cleveland. Derrick Rose goes to his hometown
Yeah.
team. Yeah. So
Yeah. There you go. The simplest solution. It's all rigged.
yeah. Yeah.
Everyone's lying to you guys. That's it.
Yeah, we'll see. I bet next year we'll have a very unceremonious lottery after this, if I had to guess. Like some years it goes as planned, some it doesn't. So
Just as the NBA wants you to think.
yeah, yeah.
But we got to get
But
out of here
yeah,
because
I
this
know.
is going off the rails.
We'll close it on some lottery conspiracy talk. Shout out to Sean for calling in using the voice line. Anyone can call the number to ask a question, hear your voice on the show. The number for that is 313-355-2717. And special thanks to our guy, Sean Corp, the managing editor of Detroit Bad Boys, for supporting the show. And shout out to you guys for all the great questions and talking points tonight. We'll catch you next week, whether on your commute or live with us on YouTube. We can't wait to talk more Detroit basketball with you all.